is about fear and how it gets propagated throughout every part of our culture and all the things that you've been talking about in that base level and that ego denial. Because coming up against it time and time again, I realized that there seems to be what I would call a clamp on the memory and the experience and the body sensations.
In terms of processing fear, I think there's no question that many of the people who've gone through experiences in which they've been abducted, whether by military or by non-human groups, that there is some kind of programming that they've been given where they know they are never supposed to talk about this. There's, whether it's hypnotic commands or some kind of control, that these people, it's, you get this with people who've gone through military debriefing, where they've gone through extensive debriefing and they know they're never ever supposed to talk about it. Even thinking about it is committing a pre-crime. So I wouldn't presume to know what you went through, but I would say that some of the people I've known, I believe they were programmed to be terrified to try to think about this and never to confront it. So what you're doing is showing a lot of bravery, and I'm no therapist, so I wouldn't presume, but I think that the act of thinking this through calmly and slowly, you take your time, don't rush, and think it through. Writing things down is probably the best thing, and you can get some detachment from that. In time, I would think that it gets better.
Our proper media is electronic seance and negativity, and we have to bootstrap a higher positive approach to the future, even with all of the uncertainties. One of my late colleagues, Dr. Lavona Stillman in California, had to take people who were victims of abduction, who were in the space research program. She said many of them had this hysteric reaction. They did not want to go deeply into their experience. They were told as if it was an a priori thing put into their brain. Do not speak about this because things will come apart. So there is this psychology of fear and dualism. We're moving into an age of non-dualism, science and non-dualism. We're moving into an age of ascendancy of a higher consciousness. I would call it spiritual ascension work allows each of us to overcome the negative scenarios we're facing with positive efforts of constructive thinking, joy, and inner experience. And we must dwell upon the positive with all of the great things that are happening now with the discoveries of our past in great antiquity and our future of working with cosmic civilizations.
But I even think going into the fear shows the resilience of the human spirit to overcome all obstacles. So you may be overcome with fear, but there's a part of you that wants to know the truth. And I think that's even deeper than the fear.
No one wants to redesign the world. No one. You know, once you've gotten to a certain age, you've got the world figured out, you think, and you want to just spend the rest of your life filling in the blanks. And the problem is that when I first confronted this topic, I thought that I was already ahead of the curve. Hey, I've read Noam Chomsky. I knew everything. And, that's what I thought. And then I start getting into this topic, and I thought, I didn't know a goddamn thing. And so I spent a year, like, in bed, looking at the ceiling, basically staying awake, trying to figure out my world. And it wasn't really a fear, it was just like, there's something wrong with my worldview. And it's hard, it's very hard to go through that and process that. And I do feel that is an overcoming of fear too. There's all different types of fear that every one of us has to deal with.
It's true. Okay, over there. If this is true, if what we saw here is true, then everything we know about what we think the world is wrong or has to be altered. Okay, Gustav.
What would be the view then if we're going into this integrational process in which we're inserting ourselves in a galactic atmosphere with several different neighbors and we're still unable to talk to each other without the fear factor and understanding that we're all the same, including those other beings and all those civilizations? How do you guys can view or somehow angle things like that within this research?
Your question really goes to the depth of the soul. And in my work, I found that too much scientific information is over people's heads. They're not going to be able to use that. But what is important is the vibration of the human heart. And as you connect this with higher vibrations, and you go to the planetary heart, you really open up a door to a higher physics of consciousness that our present language of science cannot explain or accept. But all life is vibrations, and if you can raise those vibrations musically, harmoniously, and with compassion, there you're on the process to the divine family that we're all connected with. Now, in my work, I found that I cannot do this in the traditional classical sense of science or even philosophy, and so I've been reaching out through musicians like Carlos Santana and Alice Coltrane and others who are great singers and composers to take this information into the soul and to create the super soul that sings and vibrates. And this bypasses years and years of studies where you have all this information, but it gets to 1/10 of 1% of the world population. The whole drama that we're experiencing is the complete change of the spectrum of life.
It's true.
And this is what we have to accept. Everything is going to change in the twinkling of an eye, and we're wrong to look for a given formula, a given discipline, a given leader, a group of leaders. And that's not going to happen that way, as I and others have experienced. It's the drama of finding the universe orchestrating through your heart, and you singing back to the universe.
Thank you. Thank you.
If we're going to deal with a larger galactic community of any sort, we are not even close to being ready when you look at our global politics. You look at the way we treat each other, the way we kill each other, the way we're tearing up this Earth's environment, destroying it the way that we're doing. We are clearly unfit. We are clearly unfit for a larger kind of interaction. Plus, we're so violent. I mean, any group that's looking at us must think, these people are crazy. So there's beauty in inside of every human soul. I mean, that's true. But our infrastructure is set up in such a way that we are destroying each other and destroying this world. So what we have to do, I don't think there's any way around this, we have to find a way to become free among ourselves, but also unified in the sense of recognizing the humanity of each other and treating each other as human beings, not as things. And I don't know how we're going to do that. I think the shock of disclosure can start that process. All I can do is I think that's a chance, but we've got a long way. We've got a long way to go.
Duncan, any comments about the human heart?
Kind of. Here we go to a kind of.
Okay.
Some of the research into expansion. We all like things the way we like it, part of the human condition. Wilhelm Reich was a researcher in sexuality, and he found that his carry-on fellow, I forgot his name directly, he found that a little bit of expansion is good, and then we contract, a little bit of expansion. There is a fair amount of sales hypnosis out there to expand you really quickly for splat.
There's what politics does.
Politics, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's frontal energy. It's someone who comes in at you and then gets you off balance and takes it. There are 8 patterns that come off the TV, 8 patterns. One of those patterns goes back through the TV to the transmitter tower, folks. And why that is the case is it's filling in part of us that we don't have enough stimulation, and we're giving it back away. And that was the research I was involved in the 70s and 80s, where they were sending signals across country in order to find out what people were guarded and unguarded with. And the research came back as it's just like, okay, people are giving away whatever they have, and we're going to take it for utilizing it for our research. So the idea is to start getting to simple affirmation or something that you are pure, you are clean, you are with God, you are your own God, and you don't need a savior outside yourself.
Thank you.
Do you have any understanding of why some people are more contactees, meaning that it hasn't been a fearful experience rather than an abduction? And do you think we have free will? Because of all the abduction kind of stuff, it seems like people are put into these situations where they are paralyzed, where they have no sense of deciding anything. And even including just the process in itself. But why would some people have experiences that are you do in regular life, but why do we have experiences where there's lots of energies that are there and supportive and helpful and not putting you into fear or suffering?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. Like some people say that if you are having contact with a certain species, it's because you're genetically related to them somehow. So there might be that kind of interaction, and I think some of it has to do with what your soul needs in order to learn. I mean, if you have like this extreme trauma, and that if you can heal yourself from that and expand that, it's a kind of a blossoming. You know, there's the old saying that you need mud to make lilies.
I think what happens when we do get different experiences, and why do some people have a positive experience? I don't have a firm answer, but I think that it does, like, there are many people who will meditate, and they're very engaged in elevating their consciousness as much as they can. And I have often seen those people have more experiences. It's all anecdotal, can't measure it scientifically, but it looks like that to me. And that kind of makes sense to us, doesn't it? If you get yourself up to a certain level, others will notice you and maybe be more inclined to communicate with you. But are those other beings extraterrestrials? Are they ultra-dimensionals? What's the difference? I don't know if they're extraterrestrials or how even to categorize them. What is their relationship to the grays or maybe other physical beings? I don't know. I do think that there's a definite distinction between the beings that we typically think of as physical, corporeal, grays, insectoids, reptoid-type beings, and so on, and also very human-looking beings. Okay, they are physical. They're physical. They may have intense telepathic capabilities, but then you have these seemingly incorporeal entities. This is what we've had shamans for thousands of years. They deal with these types of entities. Are they the same as extraterrestrials? I personally don't have that answer, but I think that helps to explain some of the variety of differences that people are experiencing. And the last thing I'll just say, since I would press your time, is that I firmly believe there are many, many topics that can allow the human mind to pry open the layer upon layer upon layer of illusion and lies that are encrusting our reality. Mm-hmm. It could be looking into any kind of conspiracies. It could be looking at any kind of occult or esoteric knowledge. But it can also be looking into UFOs. That's what did it for me. That was my crowbar.
Just on the quick of my research into different levels of the mind and consciousness. 99.9%, that's an emotional statement. We all stay in a particular level of the mind. There is what was the ego denial wall 2012. There's a barrier between 4th and 5th level subconscious. There is a constructive layer between all the different layers of the mind, what I know 19 and a half different levels. The lowest shared up to the most high. That in between level, that's your extension off this reality. Because it's not in this, as in we're in this room and we're in that room. It's halfway in between. It's actually a 2D, 3D realm. Going in with our level of consciousness, we actually can go, it's just like you're trying to be conscious going in there. It's like going up to a wall and using your body as a sensor. Your body knows where the wall is with your eyes closed. To me, this physical reality is black, folks. This is part of a reconstructive, we're in the creation zone of moving ahead. So there's a lot going on. So if I could get you, when you start going to sleep, just push those layers of your mind and just try to stay awake. Go to a candle and just continue to push those layers to get down in and try to get in between. Thomas Edison was rumored to have a number of steel balls, looking for new ideas. If he got too close to sleep, he'd drop them. He didn't want to go to sleep. He was looking for it's the in-between state. which is the natural sideways connection off this physical reality. And it's a 2D, 3D construct with our consciousness. You can actually fill in the void and actually go to a realm where it's the magic field where things actually can create. Everyone uses it every day. Get the in-between state, go out there, which is another 2D, 3D realm, bring that information, and you can physically start manifesting.
Well, thank you. I think... I think key to the whole ET situation are these levels of consciousness, and it opens us up. If our interactions open us up, the whole humanity is going to shift, because reality is not what we think it is. So,
Right, we're in a time of a great consciousness shift. We can be part of the downward spiral if we want,
yeah.
to simply dwell on the negative things, or we can be part of an upward spiral that's taking place, and recognize that we can be co-participants in a new page of the book of life. I think this dwells deeply within each of us, that there will be changes that will come. At the same time, we will find in the process of these greater changes that we are one global humanity, and that we are a universal humanity. We are a privileged species that will be able to use the powers of the mind in a higher sense of spiritual dynamics to reach out and reclaim our cosmic citizenship.
Thank you, Dr. Hurtak.
Thank you for coming here. Thank you for all of these people. I think it's been an amazing panel. Everyone has a different side of basically that our reality is much more extended and wider and broader than we're living it every day. And so I think it's quite a gift just to see that reflected in each of these three panelists to show us what we can live into.
And we have a facility of consciousness that is not what scientists and psychologists have said it is. It is vaster and more multifaceted than we have been allowed to explore. So these people have given us an opportunity to explore it. Thank you very much.
Let's hear it for Jane Carman's film. Yay!